You're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio. I'm Tori Longdon, and I'm here with the wonderful Melrose Quartet and 4 carol singers who we've kidnapped off the streets of Dunstable to explore the lusty, cutthroat and downright weird stories behind some of Britain's favourite Christmas carols. Here in front of me I have a Santa hat with all of the carols in it on little bits of paper, and we're taking it in turns to pick out a tune and explore the story behind it. Who would like to pick the next Christmas song out of my hat?
I'll grab this one.
Great, okay.
Ooh. And this is While Shepherds Watched.
While Shepherds Watched. Well, Jess from the Melrose Quartet, you're our resident expert on this. There are hundreds of different tunes to this song, right?
That's right, yeah. Probably more than any other carol, I think.
And why is that?
So it's a really old set of words. The text is attributed to Nahum Tate, who was the poet laureate in 1692. And he published a supplement to the accepted texts that the Church of England would allow to be sung in 1700. And this was the only Christmas carol that the Anglican Church would approve of all the way up until 1782.
That's amazing.
So I guess that then prompted lots and lots of composers and musicians to use that as their inspiration for lots and lots of different settings. Yeah, I don't actually know how many there are, but it's in a really common metre, same as a lot of the other sort of psalms and religious texts. So it means that a lot of the tunes and texts were interchangeable.
That's amazing. Fancy that. And how has the current tune that we all know come to be so popular?
So the tune that we know to it's got a name. All of the tunes have got names, and it's called Old Winchester. And it's actually a really, really old piece of music. It's derived from Christopher Tye's setting of the Acts of the Apostles from 1553. And they published the form that we know of it in 1592, though it probably wasn't used as the tune for While Shepherds until a bit later on, obviously, because the words hadn't been written at that point.
Wow.
The tune and the text were probably first published together in Hymns Ancient and Modern, which was 1861. And that's the version that then was distributed, and it's certainly in the UK. That was kind of the accepted carol book, Christmas hymn book for, a lot of churches, and therefore that's the one that we're all familiar with. It's not the same everywhere. In the States, apparently, the common tune that's used is a piece of Handel. So it depends where you come from.
Wow, that really is a little bit of folk history. And this is the Melrose Quartet with the Liverpool tune of While Shepherds Watch Their Flocks by Night.
While shepherds watch their flocks by night, all seated on the ground, the angel of the Lord came down, and glory shone around, and glory shone around, and glory shone around, and glory shone around. Fear not, said he, for mighty dread had seized their troubled mind. Glad tidings of great joy I bring to you and all mankind, to you and all mankind, to you and all mankind, to you and all mankind. To you in David's town this day is born of David's line the Saviour, is Christ the Lord, and this shall be a sign, and this shall be a sign, and this shall be a sign, and this shall be a sign. All glory be to God on high, and on the earth be peace. Goodwill henceforth from heaven to men, begin and never cease, 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 begin and never cease.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
What about tunes that have become popular more recently, like The Little Drummer Boy? Is that tune a really old one as well.
Wasn't that one originally the Carol of the Drum or something?
Yeah, it was actually, but it was actually written in 1940 by Catherine Kennicott Davies. So it's not an old tune at all. But there is an interesting story about the Little Drummer Boy. If you remember the Bing Crosby, David Bowie version.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that is actually got an element in it that was totally invented. Because David Bowie was supposed to appear with Bing Crosby to sing the duet of the Little Drummer Boy. And at the last minute, he turned around and said, actually, do you know what? I don't like this song at all. And I won't sing it. And so the panicked writers, had to run into the next room and write something else that David Bowie could sing at the same time as the Little Drummer Boy. Wow. And they came up with that counter melody, Peace on Earth, can it be? Just off the cuff.
Wow.
No. So that they could actually proceed with the recording session. So let's listen to it now, shall we? This is David Bowie and Bing Crosby and the Little Drummer Boy.
Come, they told me, ba-rum-pa-pum-pum, a newborn king to see, ba-rum-pa-pum-pum. Our finest gifts we bring, ba-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. Peace on earth, can it be? Years from now, perhaps we'll see the day of glory. See the day of goodwill, live in peace, so peace on earth when we come. Every child must be made aware. Every child must be made to care enough for his fellow man, to give all the love that he can. I pray my wish will come true, as for my child and your child too. He'll see the day of glory. I see the day when men of goodwill live in peace again. Then peace on earth. Can it be? Can it be?
Hello and a Merry Christmas to you all. I'm Tori Longdon and you're listening to BBC Three Counties Radio, where today we're discovering the skeletons in the closets of some of our best known Christmas carols. Here in the studio with me, I have the Melrose Quartet. We've got James and Nancy.
Hi.
And Richard and Jess.
Hi.
And we've got our captive carol singers, all picking songs from my Christmas hat of carols and delving into the surprising stories behind these loved tunes. Now, it's the time of the show we've all been waiting for. It's our Christmas carols quiz.
Yay!
So, who wants to have a go at this?
Me.
Right, okay, Becky's keen.
Definitely, yes.
Yep, Jamie's in, and Nancy and James, you're going to go as a pair.
We're in.
Okay, right. So we want you all to feel special. So we've come up with some festive Christmas buzzers for you all. So let's see what I've got here in my bag. Right, James, you can have this. This is a clip of my friend Tom saying ho ho ho. Fun. Great. Jamie, you can have these little, well, I don't know what you call them.
They look like little glockenspiels.
They're little tiny little Christmas glockenspiels. You appear to only have 4.
I'm a
Let me see if I can
percussionist now,
find you the
apparently.
last one.
I
Where's
think
it
it's
gone?
here. Here we go.
There you go.
Right, let's see if I can
Let's see what
figure
you
this
can
one
do.
out.
Yeah, you're going to have to
There
do
we
it
go.
quicker than that if you want to answer a question.
I'll do my
Let's
best.
have another go. Okay, fab. Let's see. And Becky, you have got our festive duck horn.
What's that?
What is that?
You need to grip it firmly by the tip.
Okay.
And then push it backwards and forwards. So for those
Nothing
of you
funny
listening at
about
home, what Becky has here is an antique duck horn, which was a hunting tool. It makes the sound of a specific duck. I'm afraid I don't know which duck. It's not particularly Christmassy, but it is hilarious. It's basically a long black rubber tube that sounds like this.
I feel more festive already.
And James wants to answer a question. James goes. And Jamie goes. Sort of. And Becky goes. Excellent. Okay, let's get cracking. So, question number 1. How would a choir boy make the welkin ring?
The welkin.
Take it to Mordor.
Yes, take it to Mordor. I mean, it does sound like J.R. Tolkien. Any advances on take him to Mordor? Jamie?
Pick up the telephone.
Very funny. James and Nancy?
Would he bake it?
Bake it. Welkin.
Is it like British Bake Off? Is it a ring of dough?
Oh, a ring of dough. No, it's not actually. Oh, but do you know, I've got that. It was such a good idea.
Oh, well.
Unfortunately, not correct. But still,
Gotta
points
be in
for
it to win
effort. Yeah, points for effort. A welkin is actually an old term for the sky. So the answer is he would sing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing," the words of which were originally "Hark how all the welkin rings."
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Yes, yes, that was in my brain, but clearly not. That's
Good knowledge.
fantastic.
And his friend George Whitefield actually thought that was a terrible idea and persuaded him to change the words because even in 1753 nobody understood what a welkin was. So it became the lyrics we all know today: "Hark the Herald Angels Sing." Okay, question number 2. What is officially the most heavenly Christmas carol? Go on.
I'm going to say "O Holy Night" just because it goes really high.
Oh,
I mean, that's definitely an Alto's perspective.
Yeah.
Yep. Unfortunately not. Heavenly. Think about heavenly. What? Think laterally here.
Heaven, sky.
I would have thought "Hark the Herald," but with angels.
We've
but
already
I'm
had.
not sure
We've
I'm
already
right.
had that one, mate. Yeah, all the answers to this quiz are "Hark the Herald." Oh, James Fagan.
I'm going to go with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because they went really high.
Is this because you've got an album to plug?
Stuck on the high.
Yeah, they.
Well done,
Well
James.
spotted.
Well, space is definitely higher than. Oh, I've got it. That's always going to be funny. Is it Jingle Bells? Because
Oh my
they
God, how
played
did you
that
get
in
that?
space for the
You
first
are-
time. That was the first thing they played in space, wasn't it?
You're
Was
a
it?
genius. You're absolutely
Yes. I never get any quiz questions right. How did I know that?
fantastic. That's absolutely right. Jingle Bells was the first Christmas carol to be sung in space. It was actually a Christmas-themed prank by the Gemini 6 astronauts Tom Stafford and Wally Schirra. Wally Schirra. Please write into BBC Three Counties Radio if you know how to pronounce that name. They smuggled a harmonica and some sleigh bells onto the Gemini 6 spacecraft. And then pranked Mission Control with a report about seeing a satellite going from north to south up in a polar orbit.
Strong work.
I know.
Nice.
How do you smuggle harmonica and sleigh bells onto a spaceship?
With great
Is that a
difficulty.
question?
Amazing. Right, well, pressing on. How did Good King Wenceslas die?
Avalanche.
No. a vestigial squawk there. How did Good King Wenceslas die? James and Nancy.
Pickled walnut accident.
Tragedy.
Unfortunately, Good King Wenceslas was a king. He did actually exist. He was a Bohemian duke called Vaclav, whose own mother murdered his grandmother, and who was himself murdered by his own brother. So goodness clearly didn't run in the family.
Nice.
No.
And our next question. How did a partridge end up in a pear tree? I think that's Jamie.
Was it a translation?
You're-
A misunderstanding of the words?
I was hoping no one was going to get that one. Yeah, but you're two on it. Jen, do you know what it was?
I couldn't tell you. I think I heard the story years and years ago.
Well, I'm very impressed. It's originally a French carol, and there wasn't supposed to be a pear tree in it at all. In fact, the French word for partridge is perdrix, Perdrix. And it's thought that it is actually a mistranslation of that. So there you go. No.
So it's not about Alan Partridge getting stuck at a services near Oxford.
Disappointing.
It's certainly not. But I really wish it was. And finally, what would you put in your wassail bowl?
Wine?
Becky. Wine?
Mulled
Not quite.
wine?
No. It's Nancy.
Is it cider?
Ooh.
Because there's a lot of apple stuff goes on.
There is a lot of
doesn't
apple
it?
stuff,
So,
yeah.
And in fact, or maybe it doesn't matter, but it's spiced alcohol of some
Spiced
kind
alcohol
of
of some
thing, isn't it?
kind, yes. So a wassail bowl was a big sort of communal dirty pint, basically. People used to carry around from door to door, singing carols to the lords and ladies of the manor houses, in the hope that they would drink from their wassail bowl and then give them food or alcohol in return. So they would go around a wassailing. And here is a wassail recipe, beautifully recorded by Lady Masery.
Take 1 pound of brown sugar, 1 pint of hot beer, a grated nutmeg and a large lump of preserved ginger root cut up. Add 4 glasses of sherry and stir well. When cold, dilute with 5 pints of cold beer. Spread suspicion of yeast onto hot slices of toasted bread and let it stand covered for several hours. Bottle off and seal down, and in a few days, when it's bursting the corks, it should be poured out into the wassail bowl and served with hot roasted apples floating in it.
Going back a moment to the 12 Days of Christmas, what is everybody's favourite bit of that traditional English song, The 12 Days of Christmas?
5 gold rings, but not That's how it was originally
That
sung.
was a Gregorian version.
Yeah, that sounded really nice.
Each to their own.
What was the bit you said?
5 gold rings.
I'm afraid not, because of all of the traditional English song, 5 gold rings is the only incongruous bit.
Was it written for
5
David
gold ring
Bowie?
was
'Cause he
In a hurry.
He was in a hurry, David Bowie in a hurry. No, it was actually composed later than the rest of the carol, and it's copyright by Novello.
So
Really?
do you have to pay to
So
sing
you've just
that
blown
bit?
the Three Counties radio
So
budget.
sorry.
I wish I'd been in tune for it.
So just like Happy Birthday has the copyright owned by some old ladies in America, and if you sing it in movies or you play it on the radio, you have to pay a huge royalty fee.
It's
Well,
recently
we
out
discovered
of
this when we
copyright.
recorded the Rudolph variations, because Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, of course, is still in copyright. So we did pay our dues to a family who still own the rights to Rudolph in the United States.
All fair.
Wow. And there is a story that the 12 Days of Christmas is some kind of Catholic catechism or Catholic code of saying that the different numbers, the true love is God, and the 3 French hens are the Holy Trinity, 4 Gospels. Unfortunately, that's completely untrue.
Oh.
It's
Quite like that one.
it's actually a memory game, just like my grandmother went to market. Say my grandmother went to market and she bought a cow, which is probably unlikely nowadays. And my grandmother went to market and she bought a duck and a cow, etc., etc. So unfortunately, there is no secret Catholic code within the 12 Days of Christmas.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the third swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love said to me, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love said to me, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 10th day of Christmas, my true love said to me, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love said to me, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love said to me, 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Hello, and a very happy Boxing Day to you all. I'm Tori Longdon, and I'm here with our captive carol singers, Jamie, Becky, and Vicky, and the fabulous Melrose Quartet, discovering the hello James, discovering the surprising and often secret stories behind the songs and carols we hear at Christmas. Welcome to the final part of our special, where we're looking at the eyebrow-raising facts behind some of our festive tunes. We're taking it in turns to draw songs from my special Christmas hat of carols. And up next, we have a real festive classic. This is Martin and Blaine's 1944 song, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. Next year all our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. Next year all our troubles will be miles away. Once again, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Will be near to us once more. Someday soon we all will be together, if the fates allow. Until then, we'll have to muddle through.
That was Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, Martin and Blaine's 1944 song, which was performed by Judy Garland in the musical film Meet Me in St. Louis. Far from being written in a Christmassy setting, this song was written in the middle of a sweltering LA summer. And Hugh Martin, who wrote the lyrics, originally wrote a much sadder version, which included the lines, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas. It may be your last."
Wow.
But when Judy Garland read those, she refused to sing it, saying, "If I sing that, little Margaret will cry and they'll think I'm a monster." I should do a Julie Garland voice. "If I sing that, little Margaret will cry and they'll think I'm a monster." So Martin was persuaded to go away and revise the lyrics to make them a little bit more jolly. And speaking of hasty compositions, does anybody know the story behind the carol Bethlehem Down?
Oh, actually, yes, I do know this.
Do you
one.
actually?
I
Okay,
did
go
some
on,
research
Becky.
on this at university. It was written by Peter Warlock, otherwise known as Philip Heseltine. That was his original name.
Oh, yes, because he was involved in all the occult and stuff, wasn't
Yeah, he was a bit of a one.
Yeah.
And he was very good friends with Bruce Blunt, who I think wrote the lyrics. Is that right?
Yeah, grandfather of James Blunt.
Yes.
That's
You got me there. And it was one of the last songs that they ever wrote together before Peter Warlock died. And the original is actually a solo song with a very different piano accompaniment, or actually sometimes it's played on the organ because it's quite tricky. But the version that lots of carol singers know is the one for 4-part unaccompanied choir.
Yes, you're exactly right. And actually, it was written very hastily for a 1927 carol competition run by The Telegraph, with a significant sum of money available for the winning entry. Now, Warlock and Blunt were both absolutely skint in the run-up to Christmas, and they wanted to win some money for what they called an immortal carouse, which is basically a heavy night drinking. Can I say a massive bender?
Yeah.
They wanted to, essentially, to go on a massive bender. And so they scribbled out the arrangement of Bethlehem Down very quickly in the pub. And they won. And so you can only imagine that they achieved their primary aim of going out and getting blind drunk at Christmas. You never think it to listen to the choir of Winchester Cathedral sweetly singing Bethlehem Down.
You
It just makes me feel so festive, that, doesn't it? Now, we've got time for just one more, and who would like to pick it out of the hat?
I will.
Great. OK, Jess, here we go. Thank you. We've got... It's O Come All You Faithful. Oh, now this one has a really interesting story behind it. According to Professor of Music at Durham University, Patrick Zom, O Come All You Faithful was actually a coded rallying call for the Catholic supporters of Bonnie Prince Charlie. The carol was originally written in Latin. Who knows what the original Latin name was?
Adeste Fidelis.
Yes, Vicky, well done. What a geek. And Fideles is actually the old word for faithful Catholics. And Bethlehem was code for England. And Regem Angelorum, King of Angels, was actually a well-known pun on the sort of Viking word angles, anglorum. So when they say, come and behold him, born the King of Angels, that was actually, come and behold him, born the King of Angles, born the King of the English. Bonnie Prince Charlie. So there's a real bit of history there. But unfortunately, the Jacobite meaning of this carol gradually faded with the cause. So whichever birth you choose to celebrate, it remains one of the most rousing sings in any carol service. Carol singers, do you fancy giving us a verse?
Of course.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
O come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of Angels. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. O come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord.
Thank you so much. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you to our carol singers, Vicky Hodges, Becky Jones and Jamie Wright.
Thank you.
And thank you to the Melrose Quartet for coming and joining us in the studio today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to finish the show, actually, we've got Melrose are going to play us one final piece. Nancy, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, this is The Holly and the Ivy, I think, one of the most beautiful folk tunes that it's set to. And this is pretty close to how we sing it up in Sheffield as part of the Sheffield and North Derbyshire sort of pub carols.
And it's nice to finish with this from our point of view because it's the opening track on our first ever Christmas album, which is called the Rudolph Variations, and it starts like this.